Welcome to another Too Tall Toby exercise created in IronCAD. This is dated July 5th as a channel support. And this model is not too difficult in IronCAD, fairly simple to do. We have some key things here. We have an overall center to center of our holes. Note that one of the holes is larger than the other inside of here. And then we have some offsets for this side piece here that you see hanging off. It has a 46 here offset and 35 here. So a little bit different location for those. We also have this top part that has a wall thickness on this feature, which is actually kind of like a rib feature, if you will. So in ArchiCAD, we'll just use basically drag and drop shapes to build most of this. We'll actually do a kind of unique way to build this top piece. We'll actually use a rib feature that we have in our catalog to start off with, and just added the cross section to get some of these key requirements here, like the 18-inch distance here and the tangencies. And then we'll actually create this as a separate part so we can shell it and then blend it together. So very simple approach here in IronCAD, but I'll show you how it's done. So let's hop over to IronCAD and we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is start with an extrude, and we're in millimeter units here. And we know that overall from the center to center is 188. So let's go ahead and set that value. And we know the diameter of the outer circle is got a radius of 23, so that's gonna be 46 for our width, and our height of this is 14. So we'll go ahead and set those off right away. Next thing here, we're going to go ahead and add our arcs or our cylinders on the end here. So we could have done this in a sketch if you wanted to draw this out or edit the cross section and change that, but we can just drag and drop these features out. And all we have to do is use the handles to align to the bottom and snap to the side and snap to the top to create that shape. And then we can use tools like the tri-ball to move or make a copy to the opposite side. And to do that, I'm just going to put it on this midpoint, and you can just drag to that midpoint, or if you hold the shift key down when you're on an edge, it'll snap to the nearest point that you're on. So notice I'm halfway along this edge, it jumps to different locations, so that's the midpoint of that edge. Very easy way to get that there with the shift key. And then we can just turn the tri-ball active, and we're just going to do a mirror link to the opposite side. So now that we have those two holes there, you can see, since we did it on the edge of the block here, it's still 188 center to center, or you can verify that by selecting the face of these two, and you'll see down at the bottom that it's 188 millimeters to center to center. That's our starting point. Next, we're going to go ahead and select down to the face level and add another extrude here, and we know that's going to be an additional 20 millimeters on this side. So we can do that, and then we can use our handles to get the offset. So we know that this one is the edited distance from this point out here. It has a value of 46 from that side, and we can do the same from the opposite. Edit for distance from point, and just to do it here from this location is actually 35. So we can set that. So easily to get those offsets for that extrude, or we can drop the block and build that the same way, but we just pulled off an additional face to get some of our starting points. So that gives us our base for our model. Next, we're going to do that rib feature that we mentioned earlier. So we'll just go to our shapes catalog, and if you scroll down here, you'll see a rib feature here, and we're just going to drag and drop that out here. Now, the one thing you want to note here is if you left click and drag in IronCAD, we add as another feature. So you can see there's only one part. This is a feature. What I'm going to do is actually add it as another part. So I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to right click and drag, and when I release, I can say drop as a feature or a part, and it's an instructor part as well, but we're just doing innovative parts right now. So I'm just going to drag and drop that, that part there. And then what we want to do is change this around. So I'm going to flip it around. I'm just going to lock an axis, rotate it 180 degrees to start off with, and then we can do some alignments here. So we know it aligns to this edge here, and we also know that it aligns to this edge. It's got a tangent here, so we just go ahead and set those 2 points. And we know the width of this thing is actually, let me double check that measurement, is 50 millimeters. There we go for that. So now we know that that's the overall width. We can use the tri-ball to position this, so we can just grab the tri-ball, locate it over here, lock an axis, oops, sorry. There we go, snap it to that point, there we go. Lock the axis and move it over to that location. The blue moves it, the white moves the tri-ball freely, just FYI if you don't know that from our other videos, but there we go. So now we've got this in place. On the 2 locations, now we just need to set the others. This is where we'll edit the cross section. So we'll just right click on this. We can hit Alt E, or you can right click and hit Edit Cross Section to get into this sketch. So first thing we know is that there's an angle on this. So if we select on this line, we know the angle here in this case is set to 28 degrees. We can set that and that'll move everything up. What we want to do is actually now disconnect this point because we want to keep this location, but we're going to change the length of this line here. So what we're going to do is just right click on here and disconnect that so these curves are not disconnected. We can double click on we can right click on this curve or edit the profile either way, or that dimension. In this case, this is actually 170 millimeters. So we're going to set that, and you can see now that's disconnected. It moved this line without moving this additional line with it. So we've got that set at our 170 that they specified there. And now we can move this down for whatever reference. We'll just leave it here for now. We can change it later if we like. But what we're going to do is now draw our other key requirements. So we do know that there's a line that's perpendicular to that has a distance of 18 millimeters. So we're just going to right click, type in 18 millimeters to set that. So we've got that distance set. Next, we'll use the polyline here, and I can click to start my point, and then if I left click and hold down, it's going to change into an arc, and I can just draw this out. So we know it's going to be around 50 millimeters, so I'm just going to draw something that's close to that, and then I can right click here and type in a value of 50 millimeters for that radius to get that. So we've got that set there as 50 millimeters. It's tangent here because that's what the polyline will build to us, and we need to build this other arc on the other side. So the way we're going to do that is actually just change our line here. I'm just going to pull it down as a reference here because I'm going to use a tangent arc to create this. So we can do a 2 tangent and 1 point. In that case, we're going to be tangent to this, tangent to that, and we're just going to select this point that it needs to go through inside there because we don't know what that radius is, but we just know that it has to be tangent there to that point, and you can see that it creates those tangencies to those curves. Last, we can just trim off the excess geometry, so we don't need this information here, we don't need this part of the arc, and we don't need this curve any longer. So we know that we have our perpendicular there, tangency to that curve that was there, tangency here, and we know that that has a key requirement of 50, that's 18, and that's 170. That's all it gives us as the key requirements there. And now we've got that shape, we can just hit finish, and now we've got our shape. Now why we did this as a separate part is when we can actually shell this separate. So what we want to do is actually do a shell on this by right clicking, and we can select the shell command. In this case, we're going to open up these front faces, and we're also going to get this bottom face. I can rotate around to pick that, or I can hit Control Alt left click. That will pop up our selection list, and I'm going to use it as a filter so I can see which face I want. I want this bottom face here, and select that. And we're going to set that thickness value, in this case, is 9 millimeters inside of there. So we just hit 9 millimeters and hit enter or hit the green button to go. So that will give us our shape that we want there, but these are still 2 separate parts. So all we need to do is select our 2 parts, go to our feature command, and we can boolean those together as a union, and now we have a single part inside of here. So that's just a simple way to do that. We've got our tangencies here and our points there. Last, we just need to add our 2 holes. So we can just go into our catalog, drag out a cut cylinder here. In this case, this one has a diameter of 22. And we can drag the other one to the center point on this one as well. And it has a diameter of 18 millimeters there. So now that we've got those there, that's all we need to do for this part. There's no other additional blends or anything needed. So that's our model. We can go into our properties, and it has a mass density set to 7,800. So that gives us a total mass of 2697. So a very simple way to build this, kind of using some unique things of our Boolean capabilities to quickly build 2 parts in one single file, Boolean them together to make one. And you can see inside of your structure, you've got your part, and this is where your Boolean part was that we used the rib and the shell. So we can still edit those independently in case we need to make some modifications to that. So a very handy way to design in AutoCAD with this particular model. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and we'll continue to add some more.